Hi, Adrian.
Hey, hello. Ciao Stella.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine, thanks. And you?
Oh, not too bad.
Good.
Hello, Ed. Edward.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Hey, Edward, how are you doing?
Hello, hello. Hi.
Good to see you.
Yes, it's been a long day, so I'm not sure what to say because this is my 5th day at school. And luckily we do not have any children yet, so it's just adults. So, or at least teachers, I'm not sure if we want to call them adults, but that's what we have so far. And Elizabeth, thank you. I got your letter.
Good. Thank you, Edward. Sorry, it took me a couple of days longer than I intended.
You know, that's the point. I think it's important not to rush on things that don't need to be rushed on. Just take our time and get it done and then keep moving forward.
Right.
I'm a slow mover to some extent.
So what are you teaching this fall?
I teach German and French,
Where are you teaching?
Charlottesville High School.
At the high school?
Yes,
Excellent.
and it was a very last minute decision. I was asked to teach Spanish at Albemarle County, but I decided last moment because I wanted to work with specifically Charlottesville High School as some of the educational initiative and the sister city. I decided last moment to switch, and they both had asked me, and I just said yes to one and thank you, but I can't come to the other one.
That's great. I'm glad you'll be
think so.
there.
I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very happy. And and plus there's another thing about Charlottesville High School is I can walk there easily from my house.
That's good.
And you know, when you get to be my age, the word exercise is bad, but if I can trick myself in doing exercise in the process of walking to work, then I can accept
Kill
that.
2 birds with 1 stone.
That's right. Without actually saying the word exercise.
That's good.
The dirty word.
Really, really.
All right, I'm going to get going on the minutes here.
Hey, Michael and Vivian, good to see you all. So yeah, it looks like we have a quorum and it's after 4:30. So shall we begin with a review of the minutes? Elizabeth, do you have anything to add?
I did have to go back. Well, yes, I do have something to add. First of all, I wanted to thank Stella for sending me the link we needed to Henry Pollard's project. And also, who else is it that sent me something that I needed?
It looked like there was a link for Elias Alonso's presentation.
Yes, that's what it was. Thank you, Jamin. You sent that to me, I think. So I went back at the end of last week and updated the minutes with the correct links. So you may have read the minutes already and not seen those, but they are now in the current and revised copy of the minutes. So are there any other revisions or additions or deletions that you caught that I need to make to the minutes for the July meeting?
I was not at the meeting and just want to give one more apology. Are you able to hear me?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, my computer just flashed a bunch of messages saying that Zoom was not picking up my microphone. So, but I did notice that right after my email, Sylvia sent one saying that she had not made the meeting either. So I noticed she was listed in attendance. So that might be
Thank you.
something correct.
Okay, I went back, you mentioned that to me, Adrian, and I went back and I changed that to reflect that she was absent. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Any others? Mistakes that I made? Anybody needs to point out or correct?
Well, mistake is a strong word.
Well, you know. Omissions, commissions, whatever.
Is there a motion to accept the
I
minutes?
move,
as-
I move that we accept the minutes.
Thank you.
Is there a second? All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Allison.
Allison.
All for accepting the minutes as presented, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I believe the ayes have it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
And we can move now to the secretary's report.
Okay, so even though I'm the secretary, I'm going to be turning my report over to two other folks today. First, I'd like to ask Adrienne to go ahead, if you would, and use some time to talk with folks about the new member orientation handbook and where we are with that and what we envision we're going to be doing next.
Great, thanks, Elizabeth. And I'll take just a quick second to introduce myself to Edward and Claire, who I think just joined us. I'm Adrienne Ward, and I'm a citizen at large. That's my role. And I'm sorry I missed you last month, but here I am. And now you'll get more of me than you probably want. So Elizabeth and I have been working on putting together what we're calling an orientation handbook for the Charlottesville Sister City Commission. And the goal there is to give new members particularly, but also all of us, a clear sense of how we operate, all the pieces and moving parts of our commission. It's been, we haven't had all the documentation gathered in one spot and made sort of clear. And we thought it was something we could have used a couple of years ago, and certainly it would be of use right now. So the handbook is nearly there. We're about, I'd say 90–95% completed. And we will let you know as soon as it's ready to read, which should be in the next few days probably. And we will tell you where to find it on our shared Google Drive. It's going to be crystal clear, I hope. The folder is going to be called Orientation Handbook. And inside you're going to have the whole handbook in one document. And then it also has a document called the Handbook Appendices, which are all the supporting pieces of information that from which we worked, all the former decisions and deliberations or resolutions, bylaws, that sort of thing that really underpins the text itself. We will ask that the 7 older members of the commission and Max and Kina, if it applies, that they read it first and give us feedback by August 30th. So that should give you close to 2 weeks to take a look at this handbook. And when we get the feedback, Elizabeth and I will make revisions, and we will then submit it to everyone, and especially including the newer folks. I'll say the older, the veterans, if you will, include Damon, Nana, Stella, Michael, and Elizabeth, and myself.
If you don't mind, having spent 3 prior years on the commission, would you mind including me in that? Because I was on the commission for interviewer.
Sure. The document won't be sent exclusively to those people I just named. It will be on our Google Drive, Edward. So I'll just make sure this message will probably go to everyone saying it's ready to be read now. But we were prioritizing the folks that have been around more for more time. And we wanted their input so that we could make proper tweaks, revisions, refinements, especially for the newer people for whom all this material will be fresh. I guess we'll just keep you informed about when it's ready to read. And I hope that's imminent. And then we're going to ask that once we've made those refinements with input from the veteran folks, we will ask everyone to read it, especially the new members. And that is Allison, Vivian, Sylvia. I had Edward here, but I'll move you, Ed, to the veteran group. Allison, Vivian, Claire, and Sylvia. And then we are going to ask that you have it read before our retreat, September 20th. And we plan to spend, to dedicate some time on the retreat to talking about the handbook and just our general rules and regs, if you will, and some of our history. It's just really an opportunity for everyone to get grounded in what has come before and where we are today and what we, how we need to moving forward, or what the possibilities are for moving forward. Any questions? Or Elizabeth, do you have something?
Nope, that pretty much covers it, Adrienne. And that's a good segue, I think, into the retreat, the status update on the planning for the retreat and what the retreat's likely to include, and some decisions that need to be made tonight about that. So I'll turn that over to Damon. Thank you so much, Adrienne.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Ceding the rest of my secretary's report to Damon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So there are a number of a few decisions we need to make, and I also wanted to go over briefly the topics that we plan to cover during the retreat. And of course, I'm open to other suggestions. But I bet a lot of what you might be interested in will probably fit into our subject areas. But our first decision we probably need to make is where we're going to meet. We are presuming, unless we are told otherwise, that we may meet in person. So for our Charlottesville City person who is with us, can you tell us if the plan is still to allow for in-person meetings beginning in September?
That is the plan to date. If it changes, you guys will be the first to know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Max. Okay, so we were thinking we would meet together and actually have an in-person meeting. How do you all feel about that? Do you are you open to that? Give a thumbs up if you're open to that. Okay, sounds like most people are open to that. Yeah. Okay. So next plan of action is to find a location where we can basically where we can reserve from 4 to 8 p.m. Our meeting is anticipated to be from 4:30 to 7:30. And it needs to be a location where we can eat food, because we are planning on having a dinner. And some ideas that we had in the past, at least once the commission met at the building, at Building Goodness. We also we're considering the Ishtaton Foundation. I don't even know if they have a conference room that would hold us, but just an idea. I don't know if the Winneba Foundation has a conference room or meeting space. The Charlottesville libraries were another thought. We just need to check on their availability and if they allow food. And of course, there is the option of a space in City Hall. Max, do they allow food? And what are your thoughts on the City Hall space, and if they allow food in that space?
So food has been allowed in the meeting spaces that you've used, sorry about that, in the past. I suppose, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I suppose if we go into in-person meetings in September, then the space would be available as usual and food would also be allowed. But again, I can't say with 100% certainty,
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mhm.
And just have a report that Northside Library is not available. So that will not be an option for us. But ultimately, we're hopeful to find an in-person space where we can eat. So
If I may,
keep posted. Yes.
if I may, in the director of the library downtown is a former commissioner, and they have 3 rooms upstairs and a larger one. They do allow food, and so they have a very, very large room, and then they have a medium-sized room, and it's right downtown. And so I've had several events there, and I've always found it to be very, very comfortable.
Okay, great. Well, that was definitely a space we were considering, and it's good to know that they do allow food. We'll see if they have availability. That might be ideal. Thank you. Get that. Okay.
Can I hear again, Edward, what that space was you mentioned?
Oh, excuse me.
Upstairs on the 3rd floor of the JMRL, there's there are 3 meeting rooms. One is a
Okay.
long, narrow room, but the one I think, if it's available, would be the long, I guess I call it more of a conference room. I've used it to show videos for attendance and things, but it gives us tremendous amount of space if either one is available. And we can have food, bring it in, take it with us, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's worth considering. I mean, I don't even know if it's available, but
I can answer that question because I actually checked on that space today. And unfortunately, on that particular day, the largest room is not available. Only one of the 2 smaller meeting rooms that accommodate up to 25 people would be available, but not until 5. And so that's not really an option for us, unfortunately, because that in some ways would have been ideal. And yes, they do allow you to bring food in as long as it stays in the room where you're meeting.
yes.
So maybe we just, if we like the idea of meeting in some other location besides City Hall, we just need to keep exploring the options for meeting spaces in various.
Is city space an option for us? Do they still have conference space there? Max, maybe you might know. I know it's not available to the public, but for an organization like us.
Right. So what I do know is that there are certain city groups, particularly the council, who kind of get dibs on using that space. It's something that I would have to check on.
Would you mind checking on that one?
Yes.
I know it's a nice large space. We'd be able to spread out, especially, if we're eating. And
Okay.
I mean, I'm not
consider-
feeling. What's that?
I'm sorry, Damon. Could we consider starting the retreat at 5 and that would open up that library room?
And go from 5 to 8? I mean, we
I've se-
could.
I saw something that said the retreat was 4:30 to 8. I'm not sure.
4:30 to 7:30 was our plan. I think we had planned on expanding to 4 to 8, just so, we're not coming in right at the start time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yes. Well, I mean, for me personally, it's a little bit of a squeeze to leave classroom when school ends around 4 o'clock and then get there and be already at 4:30. So if we did begin at 5, I mean, personally, I'd be happier. But, I would do whatever we need to do, so I'd be there if it were 4:30, but if it were 5, it would not make me unhappy.
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to a meeting at 5 o'clock. It would mean we go a little bit later, and we would need to be kind of prepared to start immediately. It's also possible that whoever has the space before us doesn't end right at 5 o'clock. Maybe they end earlier, or on the flip side, maybe they go late. It's just something to think about. As a rule, I'm not necessarily opposed to starting at 5, but knowing that we would open the door and start the meeting seems a little tight to me. Thoughts?
Maybe we prioritize the non-library venues, see if any of them work out at 4:30, and then if there's a challenge there, the library could be a fallback. at 5.
Max, would you mind checking on City Space? That would-
I can also check. I don't know our current policy on letting community organizations meet in our conference area, but we have a huge like meeting area where the school board meets in the annex that I could see, and that might be a compromise across all parties. It's a little larger. There is some outdoor seating if people feel comfortable eating outside. Additionally, Ed, you could walk right
Yes,
downstairs, and we're already that would help with
There's
travel.
tons
So
of
I'll
parking.
reach out.
There's no issue parking.
Exactly. So I can reach out to see if we can reserve the annex for that date as well, if that's something that y'all are interested in.
I'd be very happy.
Yeah, that sounds like a good solution. That way we can start at 4:30 comfortably. And yeah, Allison, if you would check on that, that sounds great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You might just check pretty soon though, so we can make other. If it does.
I'm sending an email now. I set up 2 computers so I could do it. I was prepping for this moment.
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. So the next little piece, it doesn't sound like super important, but it is, what are we going to eat? And the ideas have come up, sandwiches, pizza. I kind of like Chinese food, just because everyone can order what they want and pretty well priced. I don't know, any other suggestions?
I can say that if I see pizza again, I'm going to scream, because every event I've had in the last month has served pizza. And pizza is good, but I've had a lot of pizza lately. I like the idea of Chinese food. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because they can prepare it with 4 or 5 different dishes, buffet style, where each person can choose a little bit what they wish.
Yeah, we
That
can do
sounds
that,
pretty
or we
good.
could have everyone order what they want, either way.
For Charlottesville City and UVA, everywhere I've worked while living here, I feel like it's Roots, Sticks, or Pearl Island. All 3 are incredible. All 3 I would eat on a daily basis. But so I throw those in to the running because that's all I know when I think of catering.
I do love Pearl Island too.
Mhm.
Does not matter to me.
Maybe, Damon, the thing to do is to ask folks to weigh in, in email to you or something about top 2 or 3 choices, and we'll see what kind of bubbles to the surface as a
That sounds good. Yeah, if you all,
short of conducting a doodle poll, which
yeah.
don't know if it makes sense to do.
Dietary restrictions, that would be helpful too.
What
Yeah,
was that?
dietary restrictions and allergies.
Yeah, well, and that was part of what I like about letting everybody order exactly what they want, because then if you have an allergy, or a dietary concern, or you just don't like something, you can pick and choose. So I kind of lean towards that, whether it's Pearl Island or Chinese or whatever. But anyway, I'll send an email out about that. And if you all can just respond with your preference, that would be great. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is the basic agenda for the retreat. And we're going to open up with some kind of icebreaker activities, some fun activities that Claire has kindly agreed to coordinate. Thank you, Claire. And then we're going to roll into about 45 minutes where we dedicate ourselves to getting to know the new member orientation. Now, this will be helpful not only for our newer people, but really all of us. I think it'll be important for us to know what is in the new member orientation. But with the exception of Edward, none of us have been here much more than 2 years. And none of us have received a new member orientation. Maybe Edward did back. But
I wish
none
I
of us,
had.
nobody else has. And
No
maybe,
one in 20 years has, I think. Is you jump in with both feet and you start pedaling.
So I commend Adrienne and Elizabeth for their efforts on creating this, and everybody who has submitted a piece. So we'll dedicate 45 minutes that Elizabeth and Adrienne will lead. And I think it'll be really helpful for all of us. It'll go over history of our organization, things that we are supposed to be doing, and so on and so forth. So I think it'll be a really good, helpful time for all of us, even those who have been here a little bit longer. I think we'll all benefit from them. So we'll open up there, and it's about at that time when we wrap up that portion where we'll pause for dinner. And so that'll be about 5:30, most likely 5:45, something like that. And then we will, I don't know, we can chat over dinner if over topics, and or maybe just get to know each other. We'll see. We're still putting together the agenda. As again, we have never all met in person together, so it'll be nice to be together in person. After that, we're really going to look closely at our plan for the future, especially as it relates to enhancing our profile in the community, whether that means hosting more activities, enhancing our promotion and outreach, or building community awareness in a variety of ways. I think it's been something that's been made apparent to us in a number of our meetings, especially in the last 6 months. And naturally, during these COVID times, it's been especially difficult. So I think we need to spend some time to dedicate ourselves to really looking into that topic. So the Sister Cities Commission is more than just a sign on 250 or 5th Street. I think that's something that's really important. We want people in our community to feel invested in our sister cities and the program. And probably the most important part of that is knowing what we're doing and seeing us in the community. So that's a topic that we will definitely look at. We'll probably look at it through the lenses of our sister cities, so our city groups. So maybe if you are a city representative, be thinking about activities that are coming up, work that's going on. Also in regards to outreach, we really need to think deeply on how we bolster our grant outreach and getting beyond the standard, city press release. And obviously that's an important piece of our outreach, but we just need to do our very best to get the word out about all the things that we're doing. So I think that's going to be the foundation of our post-dinner conversation. And we'll branch off on a variety of topics from there, a variety of committees. But I think that's going to be the theme of our kind of post-dinner conversation. And I'll bring a computer with a table microphone so we can record it and go back to our discussion, especially our wonderful secretary, so she can have a nice recording to take notes from, since she'll be doing a lot of the speaking. Yes. So that's really, I think, the focus of the program. We'll have a more thorough and scheduled out agenda, but I think that's the primary focus of our retreat. Anyone have anything they'd like to ask or add? Anything I missed? Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Pardon my low voice. I have COVID. Boo.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not that bad, but just cold symptoms. Okay, next up is our email communications report. Adrienne, do you have anything to report?
I don't have much. Damon, sorry you have COVID, by the way, and I hope it passes quickly. The usual kinds of questions we get, just to alert new folks as well. We had a citizen traveling to Besançon who was asking about that, and I connected her with Elizabeth. We had a request about a potential new sister city in Korea, and I sent our sort of template response about here's what to do to consider a new city, to apply for new sister city affiliation, with the added caveat that we're kind of full up at the moment. And I think I'm trying to think. Those are. Oh, someone asked about his research and connecting it again with Besançon, and I sent sort of a standard template about how to apply for a grant. And I emphasize that grant projects need to be very closely tied to our sister cities. His research didn't have a lot to do with the city. It had to do with another related French topic. But so nothing out of the ordinary, just the usual items. One thing I'll add is in the handbook, when we list the officers of the commission, which, as most of you know, included either our chair or co-chairs, our secretary and our treasurer, we would like to add another position called the email coordinator or email monitoring coordinator, something like that. I can't remember the name we gave it. I've been filling that role for the last few months. And it's simply to make sure that we have someone who's checking our commission email, because we've had times in the past where no one in particular was assigned that, and those emails kind of built up without getting responses. So Elizabeth might be able to help me here. I believe I have to submit in writing, and I can do it to appear in our minutes for this meeting, that we wish to propose this new position, if you will. And the name of the position and the very brief duties of the position right now. And then at our next meeting, we are permitted to vote on that as a commission. And if we vote okay, the position is created, and at the moment I'm filling it and life goes on. Any questions about that, please ask now or contact me.
How many emails do we usually receive per month?
Thank you, Claire. I don't have off the top of my head, I would say 10 to 20. And I would also, and that might change a little bit in times of like when the grant applications are open, we might get more communication. It's been probably as quiet as it could be, maybe because of these COVID years. But I will add that the 80% of that 10 to 20 emails is irrelevant. It's reports on our data analytics, or it's, fake, it's spam, stuff like that. So relatively few in the time that I've been doing it, which has only been about a year, maybe. Okay, that's it on that.
And that's something we can obviously vote on at the retreat. Don't need to wait another meeting for that. Okay. Next up is our city representative updates. And I believe that Edward is going to report on Weiwei Tanango.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting Sylvia and many other people a few weeks ago at the reception that we had for the people at the Ixtantan Foundation. And Sylvia and I had a chance to talk today. I sent an email out, which a few of you were copied on, which I'm trying to approach a very, very slow and tentative first step. There's no need to rush on anything. One of the first things I wanted to do quickly was to look at our relationship with Weiwei Tanango in three aspects. One is government to government, basically at the highest level, city official to city official. The second one has to do with community to community. Specifically, Sylvia mentioned to me that there was a particular women's group that she was interested in. And we discussed my proposed upcoming trip and that I would make contact with that group, on her behalf, and so we can move forward. And the third category, which is very near to my heart, is the school system, and which is what I had worked on closely with the city of Bethesda. Most of my work was involved with exchanges and the school system and contacts. So bearing that in mind, and Allison, now that you're back, I'm looking forward to sitting down and chatting with you as soon as possible, because I don't want to take too many steps till we've had a chance to chat a little bit about that. When I worked with the school thing several years ago, Annie Evans, who was the coordinator between the city schools and the commission, was out on leave, and therefore I stepped into her role also with the visit. So my hope is to make a trip to Waywood-Tenango in October. The gentleman we met, the executive director for Mix-10 they would help make contacts that we would need. I will seek to make contacts with 2 of the leading high schools there. I've gone through a list, I've looked at their websites. I'm trying to find a high school that has a similar population objective student body as we do. I've had conversations with the Spanish teachers at the leading Spanish teacher at Charlottesville High School, and another one who was also there last week, and they're so excited about the possibilities of a slower approach. We're not talking about an exchange, but we're talking about looking for partners to start talking to, and maybe even starting pen pal exchanges with between our students, writing them in Spanish, and their students writing to our students in English. And so, but the key here is to scout out a school that would be compatible, both from the point of the school culture as well as from the security. And so there's a lot of issues. So that's part of the purpose of my trip. And it's looking forward to it. There's so many details we've worked out, and I wanted to go ahead and get it sort of out there. That's almost 2 months away. And I will try, after I've talked with Allison and a couple more people, I'll try to write down a proposal for the trip to highlight what I'm hoping to do and what I'm hoping to accomplish, because I want us all to be on the very, very same page. And once again, I want to move very, very slowly. I'm not looking at pushing us faster into a relationship than we're ready, but I feel I like to profit from the relationship for the kids in the school. We do have a fairly large number of Guatemalan kids in our system. And that is an absolute advantage in the school system, because we can connect in with them also. So that is it. Once again, Sylvia and I will be meeting next week again to go over some of the issues that she would like to make sure are covered, if I can make the visit. And then I'll be sending an email to Mara Allison now that you're back. I bet you've got 10 zillion emails waiting for you. and then we'll try to put together, send it on paper and share it back with the you, Damon, and probably by the end of next week, because so we can tweak and ask questions, and you can spread it out for other questions as you would wish. So that's all I had.
Well, thank you so much for taking that initiative. It's exactly what we need. We need to move forward on the relationship, and we need people like you to push it. So we really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to your paper.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we can definitely discuss at the retreat coming up.
Yes.
Thank you. Sylvia, do you have anything to add? She might not be able to connect. All right, well, in that case, we will move on. Now, I have been in touch with Nana, and they had a power outage in Winneba, but I've sent him again the link that was sent to us to sign in, so hopefully you'll be able to join us. So let's skip over Winneba for now, and hopefully Nana will join in, and let's go to Besançon.
Sorry about that. Projects that I've mentioned before are still in process. We're making, I think, really good steps finally to begin to address these new proposed student exchange that's been sort of languishing ever since we were first contacted back in 2020. So thanks, already extend thanks to both Allison and Edward and some other folks who are inside the school system who are enthusiastic and who are on board with trying to help us determine when, first of all, the existing exchanges might be able to be resumed, but also how to advocate for this new proposed sports theme exchange. So hopefully we'll continue to make some progress on that, and I'll be reporting on that as we go forward. The other thing, most recent update to share with you is we now have a date for our musician exchange, which also was put on hold because of the pandemic. And we know that jazz musician from Damien Groslieu from Besançon will be traveling to Charlottesville in April. He will be basically coming to fulfill a music residency with the UVA Jazz Ensemble at UVA. And while he is here, he will be giving 2 concerts, both of which will be open to the public. And I will be staying in touch with John Dirth, who is his sponsor here and who is also the director of the UVA Jazz Ensemble, about these plans so that the sister city will be able to promote and perhaps get involved in appropriate and creative ways. In particular, make sure the community knows about this sister city exchange and event, and make sure the community has an opportunity to participate. So that's finally in the pipeline as well. And I think that'll be really fun and exciting, and I'll keep you posted. That's all I have to report at the moment. Any questions?
Thank you, Elizabeth. That's exciting news. Can't wait to have that concert. I'll buy my tickets soon.
The second concert will be a fundraiser for JABA, and that one will be at the Paramount. So one concert will be at UVA in Cabell Hall, I'm sure, and the other concert will be at the Paramount. And I think we might have a really interesting, and there are all kinds of great possibilities for us, the Sister City Commission, I think, to particularly be involved in supporting the community concert at the Paramount. So I'll be thinking about those, and I'll come to you with my ideas, and welcome hearing yours and whatever proposals might come out of that, so that we can make sure that we have a valuable role to play in getting the community, making sure the community knows about the event, but also giving the community a chance to participate.
This is a perfect topic of discussion for our retreat.
That's
So,
right.
Thank you. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? No, okay. Poggio?
Yes, so basically the main thing is still the concerts, but for now I was also working to get more contacts for the Henry Pollard project, because he was working mainly with, they wanted to work mainly with the high school, that now of course, I mean, the middle school, that now is closed until September. So I wanted to find other contact for him of teenagers, or I mean, also bigger kids that are not only middle schoolers. So I'm working on that, because honestly, since I left, I don't know anyone that age range. So I need to ask like friends or whatever. But everyone is, I mean, right now everyone is on vacation in Italy, so it's like August is the time where everybody leaves. So it's not really, but I mean, it's not difficult anyway. I'm sure that I will find somebody soon. For the concert, so I spoke also with the band that is supposed to come, and they are saying that they would like the dates of, for example, I told them to avoid, of course, Thanksgiving week and everything, and they proposed from the 18 or the 20 November, or also the beginning of December. So what do you think is best? And if you agree, I will like to start booking the place to avoid anyone to take it.
I mean, I tend to think that the December dates would probably be better attended. It could be that the November dates, people are already traveling for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I actually am traveling at that time. in
Okay,
November.
so I will email
Not that you
them
need to
and say-
schedule it based on my schedule, but
No, but I was thinking that too. I mean, I email them and I tell them if they can do it in December.
That
And
sounds,
if they have a date, then yeah.
December sounds great for probably getting into the holiday spirit and start off with music and what have you. And yeah, sounds good to me too.
Okay. So if then they said yes and they decide on a date or whatever, can I go on and try to reserve the place?
yeah, I think so. Don't see why
Okay,
not.
and then I will also have to work too, because I haven't started yet. I have to talk to Terry about the hospitality, but probably that's
What
the
is-
easiest part.
Stella, what is the venue again? What's the venue that you've chosen?
It's okay, I don't remember the name right now. I have the paper there, the other room, but it's basically where there is the, wait, I'm going to take it because I, it's the Carver Recreational Center.
Okay,
So it's in front of Staples, basically. So it's also close to downtown and there is parking, which is not, I mean, which is a good thing.
and can you remind me if this is for one concert or multiple concerts?
I was thinking one. I mean, we only spoke about one.
Okay, just want to make sure I have it clear for the minutes.
But they have like, they hold like 200 people. So I mean, I think one is going to be more than enough, I guess. We would try to do it like on a Friday evening or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, next we have our Budget and Finance Committee. Michael, do you have any report?
So I've been cleaning up the budget and prep for a working session on setting what our amounts would be for the grants and other expenditures for the coming year, or this current year. We've paid out a little bit of stuff from cleaning up things from the 2021 grant cycle. And we received the appropriation on July 1st. So our current budget, or current balance is 47,000 and change.
Great. And is that something you would like to cover during the retreat or at a separate?
I think it would be good to do it during the retreat. Last year, I think we did a smaller session. If memory serves, where we set some of the amounts, the target amounts for like total grants, and then the scholarships came in later. But I think it would be good to do this as something during the retreat if we can.
Yeah, sure. We'll include that.
I think too, if I could add that our section on budget and finance and the handbook will be a great springboard for this
Mhm.
conversation as well, because we're talking about how we're funded and then how we request funding. So there'll be some dovetailing in there.
And I'll have that updated before the retreat.
Thank you, Michael. And I know a lot of us on this commission are kind of social studies people. So you are a very valuable person, one who works with numbers. So
I can just muddle my way through a spreadsheet. That's
well,
all.
your modeling is fantastic. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question real quick? Michael, and I don't know if this is something that Max needs to weigh in on. So is there some particular process we have to use? I guess, Damon, you probably know how to do this in order to pay for the dinner that we plan to order for our commission retreat. Is there a purchase order or something that has to be made in advance, or do we need probably to make arrangements? Damon, you mentioned to have our tax exempt, a letter showing that we're a tax exempt agency that we can present.
Or should we like pay for it and then get reimbursed? I'm glad to pay for it if that's the easiest way to do it.
Trying to turn my video on, sorry. So I don't know if there's really any official process for this. We've done it in years past and, there hasn't been any particular protocol. I definitely don't think it's necessary for you guys to purchase it out of pocket and then be reimbursed. My suggestion would be to, once you've determined where you'd like to order dinner from, then and getting a invoice or quote from them, that restaurant, and then just attaching it to an email and sending it to, you can send it to myself or you can send it to clerk@charlottesville.gov. That way it goes to Kina and me. And just add a note that explains what it is that you're wanting and why. And then we'll take care of payment.
Thank
You got that, Michael?
All right.
There is a, just because we've been working on it so recently, the handbook does have a document called spending guidelines. And it's the most recent, there is the most recent version. And you'll see it when you get the handbook, access to the handbook folder. And it does have some details in it. I think Max is right that there's nothing official, but the commission did come to some agreement about certain kind of steps to take. And I don't know if that's helpful or you just follow what Max just said, and then we can review what this spending guidelines doc says when we talk at the retreat.
I think the spending guidelines doc, at least the major parts of it were done many years ago.
Okay, I just bring it up because it does say it. I mean, we might decide we want to keep those things in place if they make sense. I can't, it's detailed and I'm not going to repeat it here, but anyway, just to know that's coming up, that we would be able to go over that information.
Sounds good. Thank you. Let's see. And Allison, yes, we'll definitely get to education. I don't have to leave as early as I thought because I'm no longer going to my meeting that I was planning on.
Oh, that's right.
I will need to leave shortly after 5:30, so just throwing that out there.
Is there a grants report?
No, nothing. It's relatively quiet since we only have one active grant, and Stella reported on it last meeting. And I did have only one question from reading last month's minutes. It sounded as if when Elias Alonso made his presentation that he said the website is not up yet. Is that?
That's right. It's still being built. It's still being built.
Okay. Yeah, I had a question, and this is probably meant more for him than anyone else, but our grant funding has been paying for website hosting for a year or more. So I was just curious about that payment, given that there's no website.
There
being
was
hosted.
content there. I think it just wasn't finished.
Yeah, that's right. There is a website and they have a URL and he shared that with us, but it's not completed. It's not, that's what he
Oh,
said. You're
okay.
right, Michael. It's not in sort of its finished form.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing further there. How about we go to outreach? Anything from outreach?
No changes on the website. Do need to, one part that I think would be good to have a brief discussion on at the retreat would be how to, you touched on it earlier, how do we do better outreach and announcements? Right now, there's not a great place on the website for putting announcements. We've done a splash page, but it's really kind of in your face. We did that for the grant announcements and for the scholarship announcements, but I've hesitated to do that for some of these event announcements. But think about how we can start doing, or weave in a place on our website for, hey, there's these things happening that are related to our sister cities, whether it's something here or something there, would be a good topic to do during the retreat.
Just adding on to that. Well, I think last meeting I kind of mentioned that I would be willing to help with the website. I don't know if, I think I saw your email and then I don't know if you were able to get mine, but I'm totally willing to work on that. So at least
Okay.
something or some semblance of
That'd be great.
system is set up by the retreat. But also to your earlier suggestion, I was working on building a website, and I think kind of having an events page that's easy to access, and not all of them have to be RSVP type of things, but just so people can be aware of whatever's going on might be something like a more prominent type of page.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So yeah.
Great. Thanks, Vivian. Okay, let's move to education.
So I just wanted to give some updates. I've met with Elizabeth, and in our meetings, we've kind of just done a deep dive. I've reached out to Annie, and we're going backwards in just the history of the education committee. But what kept coming up was that we have a few recurring things. I think the first thing is that we are a small school district. And so if every sister city wants to tap into Charlottesville City schools, we're going to start to see issues pop up with, if we've got 30 French students who are participating in Exchange 1, if we do Exchange 2, are we still tapping into those same 30 families? Are we not? How are we going to think about this from a systems perspective, about how are we optimizing, all of our resources here while not burning out people who are participating. Additionally, pen pal programs and other things are really wonderful. Stella and I have been working on it, which Stella, all the teachers that were yes, are no longer here, but they're going to be great. The new teachers are also going to be on board. We're doing it. But I just think there are a few realities that I just want to make sure that I'm really transparent about. I do have concerns that we've got lots of initiatives coming forward, and I don't know if our division has the capacity to do all of these at the same time. So whether that's staggering the initiatives or whether that's, Stella was really wonderful in thinking outside the box and thinking middle school, let's go middle school, because that is, a group of students that isn't necessarily involved with the exchanges. Another way to think about it is that historically it's been Charlottesville City, but we also have partnerships with Albemarle World Language teachers. And so what does that look like? How are we going to, and so there are just, I think, some bigger questions that as Elizabeth and I kept talking, these big questions came up that I think we should be thinking about leading up to our retreat. And then also thinking about, I know personally as a former teacher and who works with teachers, I'm very protective of my teachers' time and resources because I know how hard it is to, right now especially. And so having some, again, this back to like systems thinking, having some sort of protocol of if we have ideas as a sister city of how to get other cities more involved, who does it go to? Does it go to me first and then I reach out to my teachers and see if they're interested? I know that, you know, we can have all the protocols in the world, and then if you have coffee with someone who is a Spanish teacher and you're just talking, you're like, oh, this is so great, like this would be great, that those things happen. But just being really mindful of, because we are juggling so many initiatives and so many programs, having it come here first or to me first or whoever first, and then out, I think is a better strategic plan. That way no one's like sideswiped by like, oh, I didn't know you were having these conversations. Does that make sense?
It does. Allison, I just want to add a quick thing about what you said, which you're spot on. As you may know, I also have been involved with Barry Keith, the French teacher at Monticello, in putting together exchanges with Besançon. And I've gone to Besançon with Monticello. Okay, and though they are not in the city, there are other cities who here, other schools who are interested in Besançon. Besançon has 5 different high schools. Albemarle High, where I had worked last year before last, would also be interested in, if we have a group that we can't handle, there's a possibility that they would be able to do it too, you know, and not looking for any funding, but they would be able to help maintain their relationship. So we have Monticello and we have Albemarle as 2 possibilities, so that the city of Charlottesville or that this area can be able to support the number of possible exchanges for our sister cities. And having left one of those positions to come here, I'm very close to the people at both those schools if we needed to make anything happen. So just let me know because we don't want our own Charlottesville system to get overwhelmed. And you're right, you're totally correctly. It's scary when we start looking at Elizabeth and I were talking about a new exchange. We have existing exchanges. We have a possible, some sort of work with Spanish speaking. And my gosh, we don't want the new principal that run us out of the building.
Well, also, I think that brings up a really good point too. Before we go to teachers about this great idea that we can do, we need to be going through the school leaders as well to make sure that we have the capacity, that they're on board, because I just think that's the respectful thing to do, like I would do for any organization. But I don't know how other people feel about that, if that makes sense, or if there's other things to consider. Again, I'm new in this role, so I really am trying to do it and do it well. I know how busy the first couple weeks of school are. I know how invested everyone is and how excited everyone is, and I want to just realize how we can, or figure out how to harness this this passion and this potential in a way that leads to outcomes that make us all really happy. And doesn't burn bridges or kind of hurt the relationships in the community that we've worked to establish because they feel left out of the conversation or whatever. Does anyone else have any thoughts or comments on that?
The only thing, if I may, I'm sorry.
Of course.
Okay. The only thing I'd like to add with regard to Mr. Herring's suggestion is that if the commission is seriously considering partnering with schools that are in the county, once that has been thought through, then we're probably going to need to put that on paper and at least present it to council to make sure that they approve of it, because this is,
Yes, of course.
right, this is a city commission. And so we want to make sure that it is okay with them. Okay.
And one thing, everything we talk about is not on the fast track.
Mhm.
There's nothing impending. There's nothing that's going to drop quickly. We want to take our ever-loving time but at least it's out there, and will take a long time. And if that were to be the right thing to do, we will take the time to go through the process to make sure everybody's involved. One last comment, at least, for instance, I sought input and interest from our Spanish-speaking teachers at Charlottesville, because both of them have done different sorts of exchanges. And so my question to them was, if I were to talk to a brand new school, what would you want to know? What would I be looking for? And so that both of us encouraged, and knowing the fact that it would be several years before we have any tangible relationship. But I'm looking forward to slowly, and I repeat, slowly moving forward, because it's way too risky to push too quickly and too fast and blowing everything up. So I support what you said 100%.
Mhm. And before you commit a lot of time and energy to developing that, make sure that it's even going to get off the ground by giving
Yeah.
Right.
giving council an opportunity to weigh in on it.
Exactly.
Well, and Allison, I couldn't agree more. I think, you are an invaluable member of the commission, because in your role as the K-12 rep, you're going to be the person who is going to be sort of our facilitator, our advocate. And we'll depend on you to take the pulse of what's going on inside the schools. We can't do any school-based exchanges without the investment from the inside. And I think you're just invaluable in that regard. So I appreciate that if I'm hearing you correctly, I appreciate that you're just proposing that when any one of us, any city, for example, is interested in pursuing some kind of school-based program or exchange, that we loop you in from the very beginning, so that you can tell us what you know about take the temperature from inside the school system. You can connect us to the people that are actually available and interested in getting involved. And you can also, kind of be, guide the process, on the inside of the institution.
Absolutely. And I just think my first year in this, I'm almost at a year, y'all. I'm very excited. But I've learned so much and learned a lot about the fact, for example, for our French program, which largely is the one that's impacted by our exchanges, we also have a partnership with UVA that's working on tutoring and mentoring. We have all of these plates spinning. And so I'm just worried that, especially anytime you communicate directly with schools or directly in between, if I don't know about it ahead of time to say, hey, admin, this is what it's talking about, or this is that, or whatever, that people are going to send me angry emails, and I don't want any angry emails. The week is too busy for all of that. And if it happens, things happen. I can easily smooth them over. But I just think we have worked so hard to make really solid programs that I want to make sure everyone feels heard and seen and valued in this process, and that we can make really cool experiences for our students. They're really excited about it. And Stella, I know that the August is the off month, but that gives us time now to talk to the new teachers here and establish it. I think having a English and social studies combination might be really cool, a cool way to do it. So I've been thinking about it, and I'll shoot you an email with some details there, just so when we talk to the teachers, that we kind of have an idea. Because I know the French classes are doing a tutoring with UVA. The sports clinic might be involved later down the road. So I'm trying to really carve you out a meaningful space so that there isn't this overlap and stress.
Thank you.
Of course. And that's all for education.
Thank Thank you, Allison. We really appreciate you and your coordination. That sounds perfect. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our agenda. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add before we part? It was a pleasure to meet Vivian in person not too long ago. She participated. So the Center for Politics hosted an exchange with high school students from the Caribbean, from across the Caribbean. And we had a family and friends program, and she participated in that. So thank you, Vivian. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great experience.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Well, if there's nothing further, I wish you
I
all
do
good
have a
evening.
quick question for you,
Yeah.
Damon.
Sure.
So just the sort of the commission to know that Claire and Damon and I had a wonderful meeting to begin planning the retreat. And I'm sorry, I've already forgotten. When are you hoping to distribute a retreat agenda to the commission?
Within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so people can be on the lookout for that. Probably about the same time as the orientation handbook is fully finished and also ready for your review. And just a final capstone on that to reiterate. Adrienne and I, when that is finished and ready to be read, it will not, hopefully it will not be a burdensome document. Hopefully it will be chock-a-block of interesting and even thought-provoking things, or at the very least, it gets us all on the same page in terms of understanding how the commission is set up and is supposed to operate and what our various roles are. And we're going to ask everyone to read that in advance of the retreat, because what we don't want to do in the orientation session is go over that thing line by line. That feels kind of like a waste of time. What we would rather do is have dynamic discussion that comes out of the document and give you a chance to ask questions or even respond to it. So about the same time, it sounds like you'll be getting an email saying that the handbook's ready to read, and you'll have a couple of weeks to do that, and that you'll also be sending that agenda out. Sounds good.
I have something to add too, Damon. I'm not sure if Mayor Snook has reached out to you directly, but following the Sister City annual report that you submitted to council, he just made some comments about the report and questions that he had and things like that. One of the things that came up is whether or not the commission was going to pursue Sister City status for Wayway Tenango, kind of where you guys were in that, and then what you thought the likelihood of that friendship happening or that Sister City relationship happening. And so if you want, you can go ahead and reach out to him and just give him your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have not heard from him, but I'm
Okay.
glad to send an email.
Yeah.
Does he have, what email address is
Yeah.
best for him?
I'm pretty sure it's lsnook@charlottesville.gov. Let me just verify that. Yes, L Snook. Some of the counselors have their last name first and then their first initial, so throws me off sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, in my preparation for the Wayway Tenango book, entry, I came across where it's pretty clear that we're supposed to provide no less than 3 years of friendship steady status. It's
Right.
pretty clear on that. So I'm glad to follow up with him on it and where we are.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
You appreciate that.
Mhm.
And I'm thankful he showed interest. It's great.
Mhm. They all did, so.
Good. The report was about 2 pages long, and I think it was a little more readable than a 10-page report.
Yeah, I
personally.
agree.
So
It hit all
I
the
was
high
kind
points.
of hopeful. I was hopeful that they would actually, that the shorter, more condensed version would actually cause them not to glaze over, but to read.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Very good. Well, I hope you all have a nice evening and look forward to seeing you in September.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Nice to see you. See you at the retreat.
All right, good night.
Thank you.